Now, there's a little dispute that's broken out in Christchurch, and this is to do with the views of, and the column that's been written by Flip Greater. She's a musician, author, founder of Christchurch plant-based food business Greater Goods. And, well, she's written a column basically saying what her rights are, right? What her rights are, and what the true lessons are of sort of gender identity. And Katrina Biggs, who herself is lives in Christchurch and has been into her shop and eaten at her cafe a number of times and found it very pleasant. However, the thought of future visits leaves a bad taste in her mouth now. She's written a response to Flip's opinion piece, hasn't sent it to the press to get to offer any sort of counter opinion because she doesn't want to be open to the old drama there. But what is her problem? What's the reaction? What's Flip said that Katrina is upset about, and what's the position here? Katrina, g'day. Nice to have you on the program.
Oh, hi, Duncan. Look, first of all, I hope you're not going to be triggered by talking to a TERF from the underbelly of feminism. My goodness.
I can deal with it. Don't you worry about that.
Are you staunch enough for this?
Of course I am. I'm surrounded by sisters and all sorts of things, so don't worry about that. What's the problem?
Good one. Well, look, Flip Greater, she's, as you said, she's a musician, songwriter, and she has had some success here, but she's now a businesswoman, and she has a vegan food business, and she has written a few opinion pieces in the past, and our latest one, she just sort of came in basically and attacked, TERFs, the big bad TERFs, and for those who don't know what a TERF is, it's an acronym for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. Now, in fact, I swap out the word radical for rational, and it was, from what I understand, it was a term that was derived way back in the 60s and 70s, and the word radical then was used more in the context of the root, so sort of like the root of feminism. But now, of course, it's like radical as in extreme, used in extreme.
Yes,
but anyway, she came out, she came out swinging against TERFs and basically in this opinion piece, and which okay, fair enough, but I would never be allowed, I doubt very much, if I could go back and write something as robust as what she's written and have it published as well.
It's almost like it's one-way traffic. You're allowed to say that, but you can't respond, and you can't say, well, hang on, who's speaking for women here? We're not allowed to speak for women here. We're not allowed to speak for women who actually do fear their spaces might be entered into by, well, you don't know who is that person there. So I think there is a potential threat there, and I think you have every right to have a voice in this, and I think you should.
Well, that's right, Duncan. I mean, the press did, so this opinion piece was in the press, and the press did publish a letter to the editor from someone, and, this writer, I knew this woman who wrote the letter, and she had to phrase it really moderately. She sort of had to damp it down because there's no way they would publish it otherwise. And she raised a really good point in it. And she said that, women are now forced into a position of when men come into their space, of having to second guess their motives now all the time. First of all, you can't go into a space anymore. Definitely in Christchurch, Christchurch City Council owned facilities and probably other councils. You can't go into what's technically a woman-only space anymore without knowing that there could be a man in there. And if there is, you're forced into the position now of second-guessing his motives. And they might be innocent, they might not. He might be.
And she says they're all innocent, and don't even raise the suggestion that they're anything but. Now, I think that's naive.
Yes, this is a common argument, really. The trans community is just a sort of poor, hard done by, vulnerable community that should be cut slack under all circumstances. Now, all groups, all communities, whatever you want to call them, whatever, they all have the same mix of people in them. In the what's called the trans community, they will have men in there who are predatorial, and have, they do not have good motives when they want to go into women's spaces.
And have you ever experienced that? Have you experienced that, or are you just aware of that?
This.
Yeah. Have you experienced that before?
I'm aware of it, yes. I've heard...
Yeah.
No, I haven't experienced, not in the women's toilets or anything like that yet. I've just sort of talked to women who have experienced it. And
but you're allowed to have your say and your opinion on it, Yeah, but you're allowed to raise it as an issue. I think it's a genuine issue.
Yeah, well, I think that we should be allowed to talk about it, but it's that whole thing about we're not allowed to because we're perceived as evil and the enemy. Well, I mean, what are those? Look at the descriptions that Flip has described us as. We're from the underbelly of feminism.
I'll read you this. I want to read some of this.
Spaces on the internet.
Yeah, the truth is women have good reason to fear men. Men have and continue to abuse and kill women every single day. Now I feel bad for being a man. So a level of fear around men is actually reasonable, but directing that fear at the trans community is wildly misplaced, and making legislative decisions or Facebook ads based on unfounded fears is hugely irresponsible. The scenario this group seems to be concerned with is men pretending to be women in order to enter women's spaces and cause harm, which, let's be clear, is a purely fictional fear based on nothing at all. Predators don't need to pretend to be women in order to prey. They only need to pretend to be decent human beings. Many people have hurt me over my lifetime. Nearly all of them were cis, straight men. Not an ounce of harm has come to me via a queer man, a trans woman, or a non-binary person, which is anecdotal, yes, but the data aligns with my experience. I do understand some of the discomfort that feeds the bigotry, though. See, she calls it bigotry, for a start. I mean, isn't it just, bigotry is quite emotive,
Yeah, and that's the tone of the opinion piece all throughout, is the sort of her, and it is emotive, and it's her opinion as stated, her opinion piece. But I wouldn't be allowed to give my opinion in such a robust way as she has, because thank goodness for TERF, Duncan. I mean, we're like the one, almost like the one group now that can be sort of dumped on without any sort of. I know. Yeah. Everyone else is off limits now. I mean, Nazis and fascists. I mean, they don't raise their heads above the parapet anymore.
Yeah, I feel for your group. I feel for that group because I've got daughters too, right? And so I've got how old are they now? 23, 21. So in that space, would I feel comfortable with two trans women in a toilet cubicles with them there?
No, there's no way.
I feel less comfortable. I feel less comfortable than I do with a woman being in there with them. So I don't feel. I don't have anything to say. Oh well, that'll definitely happen. But I just am a little bit questioning of it. That's a fear that I may not be able to justify even. But I'm allowed to have that thought, aren't I?